Hey everyone, so this is the last countdown video for My Favorite Things July release. So as always, there will be a link below the video to my blog post with all of the info, and some of the links will not work until tomorrow, which is Tuesday night. That's when all the goodies will be available at 10 p.m. Eastern. So for today's card, I'm doing some multi-background stamping, and I'm using the new Happy Birthday background first. And I inked it up with some MFT snow cone ink and stamped it onto some smooth heavyweight white cardstock. And then wipe that off and set it aside. And then I'm using the new confetti background stamp, and I'm going to ink it up with 3 different colors. So I'm starting with my lightest color, which is MFT's Banana Split, and inking it up and then kind of centering the cardstock on the background stamp, and then just covering it with a piece of scrap paper to stamp it down. And then I'm just going to wipe it off with a baby wipe, and then I just rub my hands over it to pick up any of the excess moisture so that it doesn't transfer onto the stamp pad. And then my medium color is Blue Raspberry from MFT, and same thing. This time I'm just moving it slightly to the left of the center and then putting down my scrap paper and pressing down. That way the little dots aren't one on top of each other, which would completely defeat the purpose, and you'd end up with a very weird color in the end. So I wiped it off again with my baby wipe and then rubbed my hands on it to pick up the excess moisture on the stamp there, plus any extra ink that might, be lingering. And then finally, I'm making it up with my darkest color, which is MFT's Tangy Orange. And then this time I'm stamping it slightly to the right of the center. Just laying that down, putting my scrap paper on it. And then I've got this fun, like multicolored confetti background with the text as well. So kind of an easy way to kind of create your own pattern paper, basically. So once I was done with that, I took my square grid cover-up dynamic, which I'd used on my previous video showing that window card. I thought I would show something completely different this time. So I die cut that, and then I grabbed my card base, which is the same heavyweight white cardstock and standard card size this time, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and scored it, made sure to crease that crease really well, because with heavyweight cardstock you always want to make sure you've pressed it down really well. And then for the outline of the cover-up, I just applied a really small amount of adhesive just in a couple little areas, because I'm basically going to use it just as a guide. So I got the adhesive on it, and then I'm going to center it here onto my card base, and then I'm going to adhere all the little squares back onto the card. So I made sure to keep them just on my plate so that they're all kind of in the same order. You could kind of get away with, messing it up, but because I used a text stamp, my OCD wouldn't let me not put them all back exactly the way they're supposed to be. But you won't notice once you remove the outline. So once I got all the squares adhered into place, I can peel up that outline, and I'm left with this cool little background, and they're all perfectly spaced. So once I was done with that, I just die cut some Tangy Orange cardstock with one of the Fishtail Flags Dynamics, and then I'm going to coat it with my anti-static powder tool. And then I've got another sentiment from the birthday chalkboard greeting set, which I'd shown in my first countdown video, and I'm going to ink it up with MFT's Sweet Tooth Pigment ink and stamp that onto the strip right side up. And then I'm going to emboss that with some white embossing powder. So I'm not too worried that it didn't stamp perfectly, as I'm going to be coating it in some detail white embossing powder. And then of course heat setting that with my heat tool until it's all melted, so it just pops on that orange cardstock. And by the way, this color combo is the latest color challenge from MFT, which I'll have linked in my blog post as well. I thought it was just such a fun color combo, so I'm using a few different, making a few different cards with this color combo because it's just fun. So, and of course I pulled out the new Balloon Stacks Dynamics because I'm obsessed with them. And I die cut them from the same colors of cardstock as the ink, so Blue Raspberry, Banana Split, Tangy Orange, and Snow Cone. And then I grabbed MFT's hemp cord, which is thin enough to tie around all these little teensy balloon ends here. Even that little teeny one of the smallest die, I was able to tie the hemp around it. So looped it around and then tied it onto each bow and tied it in a knot and then trimmed it off. And then I'm just applying some foam tape to all these balloons, because this one, for this card, I decided I want things kind of popped up in a little bit more fun dimension. So started with the largest and then just started adhering all the other balloons around it. And then Normally I'd be tempted to gather up all these little cords or string or hemp or whatever and, you know, tie them in a knot and keep them all together because, yeah, I'm OCD and that just bugs me. But I thought instead I would just adhere the sentiment with foam tape right over all little pieces so it keeps them contained, yet they're kind of just free and loose, and then just trimmed off the ends kind of randomly, so some are hanging over the end of the card, some aren't. And yeah, there's just little free-floating balloons. So for the inside, I die cut a few more balloons, more of the smaller ones from the set, because I didn't want them taking up a bunch of space on the inside. And then I just inked up the confetti background again in the same 3 colors and just stamped more of just the corner of the background, just along the bottom of the card, just to give it a little extra something. So you got all this like drifting confetti. And then I'm just going to adhere all the little balloons, and that's all there was to it. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there will be a link below the video. The very first link will go to my blog post with links to all the supplies used and more info. Plus there will be a bonus card that I made using the outline of that square grid cover-up in the same color combo, just a bit of a different card. So make sure to click over and check that out. And thank you guys so much for watching, and thumbs up if you like it and subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye!